Here's your podcast script. The headline from the New York Times says it all: Infantino's years-long effort to woo Trump for the World Cup. And if you've been following the lead-up to this tournament, you know this story has been simmering for a long time. So here's what's going on. Gianni Infantino, the president of FIFA, the governing body of international soccer, has spent years cultivating a very deliberate, very public friendship with President Donald Trump. And as the World Cup kicks off this week, we're now getting a clearer picture of just how far that effort went, and who it may have really been for. Let's start with the basics. For the past year, FIFA has been leasing office space on the 17th floor of Trump Tower in New York. The rent goes directly to Trump's family business. And here's the kicker: soccer officials say the space has been sitting almost entirely empty. The lease wasn't driven by operational need. It was Infantino's call, and by all accounts, it was a gesture. That's just one piece of a much larger pattern. Infantino has given Trump praise, trophies, and a medal. He's made trips to Mar-a-Lago, to Trump National Doral, and even showed up at the premiere of the Melania documentary. He stood beside Trump on the South Lawn in 2019, smiling, as Trump joked about extending his second term. He introduced Trump before business leaders in Davos, joking that the two of them might be the most important people in the room. And he was there, somewhat inexplicably, as a guest at the signing of the Abraham Accords. Now, Infantino's supporters say this is all strategic. The World Cup is being hosted in the United States, and Trump could disrupt it in any number of ways: through immigration enforcement, through visa denials, through any number of executive levers. A Saudi soccer official quoted in the piece put it bluntly: Infantino is being pragmatic. He's managing a volatile president who responds to praise and gifts. And there do appear to be some tangible results. A top FIFA official believes there's an unofficial understanding that immigration enforcement won't happen outside of World Cup stadiums, though FIFA's own spokesman denied any formal deal, and the Department of Homeland Security didn't comment. The Justice Department also recently dropped long-running criminal charges tied to its FIFA investigation, saying the case, quote, doesn't fit within the administration's priorities. And when the question of Iranian players entering the US came up, Trump said, and this is a direct quote, "If Johnny said it, I'm okay." But the relationship hasn't been friction-free. Trump recently criticized World Cup ticket prices, undercutting Infantino publicly. And whatever informal assurances may have been made on immigration, Iran's support staff was still denied visas, and so was a Somali referee. There's also a deeper question being raised inside FIFA itself. Critics, including Sepp Blatter, the former FIFA president who was ousted during the corruption scandal that Infantino was supposed to clean up, wonder whether all of this has been in service of the World Cup, or in service of Gianni Infantino personally. He has joined Trump on state visits. He had a front-row seat at the inauguration. He's become, as Trump himself put it, an Oval Office regular, calling him the king of soccer. And now FIFA is apparently exploring hotel licensing deals modeled on the Trump family brand, and Infantino has expressed interest in launching a FIFA cryptocurrency, again, mirroring moves the Trumps have made. What does any of that have to do with soccer? That's the question FIFA's own officials are quietly asking. Blatter, who knows a thing or two about wielding influence in global sports politics, offered a pointed assessment. Infantino thinks he's the leader in the relationship, he said. But nobody can lead Trump. This World Cup will be the real test of whether years of flattery and empty offices and Mar-a-Lago pilgrimages actually bought FIFA what it needed, or whether it bought Infantino something else entirely. That's the story from the New York Times, and we'll be watching how it unfolds on and off the pitch.